My name is Ezra. I'm the UK country manager at Arlo. I've been with Arlo for over 7 years now. And yeah, I've worked in a various range of roles in my time here at Arlo. And so I've got to see brilliant organizations like Tammy's, Taye Training, from when they start to start with Arlo, I should say, to when they grow and really scale. And it's amazing growth journey you get to see as in my role. And I want to say that Arlo is a training management provider, in case those aren't aware. And our mission is to empower the delivery of great training. And how we do that is by providing technology that helps training providers reduce admin and therefore deliver more training. Because we believe instructor-led training is the most effective way to deliver impactful learning and driving meaningful behavioral change, which is why we're so excited to have Tammy Banks join us today. I actually had the privilege of onboarding Taye Training, who Tammy is the founder of, many years ago, and just being part of her journey with Arlo has been amazing and inspiring. I'll let Tammy introduce herself. Perhaps now, actually, Tammy, do you want to just quickly introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. I will take over. So thanks so much, Ezra. It's really brilliant to be here. I'm really excited for this webinar today. I'm really grateful to be asked. So my name is Tammy Banks. I am the founder of the Training for Influence methodology and the co-director of Taye Training. And I fundamentally believe that quality training can transform lives. And that's what I'm here to talk to you about today, and talk to you a little bit about what we do and how we do it and how it makes that difference. And I'm really excited to hopefully share with you today a variety of kind of resources, top tips. I want this to be a workshop that you get a lot out of and that you take a lot away from. So like Ezra has already said, this will be interactive. You will have the opportunity to ask questions, and then we will keep a bit of time at the end to answer any live questions as well. So I do spend my day talking about training, talking about the power of training, and talking about the true difference that quality training can make. And I do that because primarily Taye Training, our operating delivery organisation within the UK, delivers training to some of the most complex services you can imagine. We deliver training to organisations like police, prison officers, social workers, schools, real frontline training. And so for us, it is so important that every training session that we deliver is the best it can be. And that's the foundations of the methodology that I'm going to be sharing some of with you today. So what are we going to be covering? So we've got so much to kind of squish into this, excuse me, next 55 minutes. So I'm going to give a little bit of an introduction about how AI blended and e-learning is impacting the training industry. Everybody signed up here on the webinar today or receiving the recording afterwards. You're all working within that training industry, and you will have a variety of your own perspectives and opinions around how kind of AI, blended learning and e-learning in particular is having that impact. So you'll see a quick poll that's just come up at the moment. So please do, click on that and just let us know actually what type of training do you offer? Are you offering it out to public sector? Are you offering it to private organisations or individuals? Or are you offering it to both? Because everything that I'm talking about today will be relevant to all of you, wherever you're delivering that training. But it's great to just have a little bit of an idea of the context that you are working in every day. And then I'm going to be talking about actually how values-led quality training makes such a difference and how it really has the ability to transform your business. I had the great joy of presenting at Learning Tech with Ezra only a couple of months ago, and we were talking really specifically there about actually our business has grown over 10 times in the last 3 years, and we hold that to a couple of things, and one of those is our values-led quality impactful instructor-led methodology. And the other is the fact that we can focus on delivering exceptional training because we've got systems and technology in the background connecting together and dealing with some of those admin tasks. And within this, what I'm hoping to do is to give you a few kind of practical things that you can take away right from today. But equally, there's going to be a shed load of resources that you can access as well after this session. Okay, so fantastic. So we can see here there's loads brilliant there. Look at that, both from delivering the training to at 55% there. Ah, look at this blended learning. Oh, live online is just pipping the face-to-face to the post there. And then blended learning there, which is exactly what we do at Taye. We have blended learning as well. We've got nobody that just does e-learning. That's great because you might be put off just doing e-learning by the end of this if you were in that category. How many courses do you typically run? Really good mix there as well. Fantastic. So we've got all of this kind of information from you guys. Let me share some of those results so that you can see it as well. So you can see there, 1 to 5 per month is top for the amount of training delivered. And what brilliant. And I'm going to keep those, the biggest challenges, I'm going to leave those for my helpers in the background to kind of have a look at because we can bring those back in for the Q&A. Brilliant. That's really helpful. Thank you. So moving on, I'm going to tell you very, very briefly then. So as I said, I'm Tammy Banks. I'm the co-director of Taye Training. We are based in the UK and we deliver quality training that transforms lives. But also we are absolutely championing nationally and internationally the mission of the power of quality values-led training. And I'm going to tell you about the difference that makes and why this mission is so important, but also why it will help you stand out from the crowd and ensure that you have customers coming back time and time again, despite that crowded marketplace. So you can see here, up in the corner, I've got one of 2 TED Talks that I've delivered. We've received a Royal Accolade down the bottom, a Women in Innovation Award. You can see my book there, and I'll be giving you access to a free e-version if you want. All of this together collectively harnesses the last 8 years of us championing the difference that in-person quality training can make. And when I talk about in-person, I'm talking about in the room or face-to-face. And I'm also talking about the intersections with blended learning, because I'm not against using technology, and I'm certainly not against recognizing how we can use some of these new technologies to really enable us to be able to spend our time doing what we love and making that difference. So before I go on any further then, I'm going to come back to you guys, and I just want you just to take 30 seconds and I want you to think about why you deliver training. Really, for a moment, just think about why you, as an individual, deliver training, work for a training company, have a training company. Why are you doing this and not doing something else? So in the chat box, just add your whys for me, please. And I'll connect that into what's important here in a moment. Look at that, Chris, the difference it makes. Larry, regulatory compliance, absolutely. Philip, to help technicians, help people grow and develop. Help people quickly get answers and improve their skills. Brilliant. Share knowledge, learn from others. Natalie attended a seminar herself and it changed her life. That's brilliant. love to learn from those we train with, love to see those light bulbs going off, helping the audience. Yeah, oh my gosh, yeah. Very specific topic, dealing with cyber security and how, so that's keeping people safe in the cyber security world, making a difference. I love all of this. This is fantastic. It's really, really
Yes,
fantastic.
I love how learning's come up a few times, which even as a training provider, a lot of the guests here enjoy the learning aspect of it, which is great to see.
Yeah. And I would say, do you know, every day is a school day. Whenever I'm delivering training, I'm there to deliver those objectives. Of course I am. But the people in the room teach me something every single session. And I think that's quite a big difference between facilitating a session and just like that dyadic training at people, isn't it? Yeah, I always learn from the students. Yeah, me too, Alice, me too. Love seeing people learn and reach their potential. Fantastic. Love training because I believe it makes a difference to professionals in their jobs and practice. Brilliant, brilliant. All you guys are completely on my page here, and I'm so pleased to kind of see some of these show up, because for me, from an instructor-led perspective, do you know, when we're thinking about why we deliver training, there's actually a real responsibility on the facilitator, how we show up that day, and whether we believe that we can make a difference really does impact that training. And I'm here because I believe fundamentally that quality training transforms lives. And I believe that facilitators absolutely have a responsibility to be the very best that they can be. I'm absolutely fed up of boring and uninspiring training sessions. And I think now, really honestly, there is no excuse for it. If it's going to be boring and uninspiring, it can be e-learning. If it's going to be boring and uninspiring, it can be delivered by an AI bot. I'm not saying that all of their training is boring and uninspiring, but what I'm saying is, from an instructor perspective, if you're going to show up that day, then at the very least, we need to be the very best that we can be as instructors. And people think delivering and developing training is simple. And I know, and you know, that it's not at all. And there's a lot to consider, and there's a lot to contend with, and we have to keep ourselves up to date as well. But do you know what? If we do it right, if that day we really, really engage with the people in the room or the virtual room, and we facilitate that session to a really high quality, then the difference we can make is to all of those individuals in the room, but then all of the people that they then touch, depending on the subject that you're delivering as well. Going back to that cyber security one that's mentioned, I can absolutely, the benefits of that and the kind of the ripple effects of that, if that person in the room really understands, takes away and connects with everything that you're saying, them then keeping themselves safe and sharing that within their organization, and potentially even their friends and family, some of those light bulb moments that you've shared, the difference that that can make is phenomenal. So training for me, if it is instructor-led training, should absolutely be quality values-led training. So let's really quickly then touch on kind of the challenges in this changing industry. I know I've mentioned some of these, and I know, do you know, for all of us that are instructors in the training world, we'll all have different perspectives around what we think the impact of these are going to be, and actually whether we think it's a good thing or a bad thing. And you can see here that, you know, if we're looking at AI, for instance, you can see that it's being used for a variety of different tasks, from learning design tasks to researching subject matters, right down to kind of skills practice. And this is a new world for us at the moment. And this is a new world kind of on the back of the rise of e-learning as well. So there's a lot of challenges within our industry, and there's a lot of worry at the moment about whether instructor-led training is going to fade out. and whether instructor-led training, whether there is even going to be a place for it in the future. Now, I would say, and I kind of live in this world and talk to kind of the importance of instructor-led training all of the time. And I would say a few things from my own perspective, from running an organization that delivers hundreds and hundreds of training courses right across kind of frontline services every month, year, over the last 8 years. I embrace the new technology that is coming as much as we possibly can, because I think it's really important that we recognise actually what our point of difference is, and actually what stands us out from the e-learning and the AI. And I also think it's really important that we move with the times and recognise how they can support and help us in what we're developing and what we're delivering as well. So although I'm really not a fan of e-learning on its own, if it sits there as a piece of learning and there is no other interaction, and I'm not a fan of AI learning on its own, again, in isolation. What I am a real fan of is blended learning. And actually our train the trainer qualification that we run is a blended learning package that includes parts of all of this for the reasons that I've just talked about. So I said about instructor-led training and my belief that it's here to stay, but it's not just me saying this. If you just have a look here at this kind of, it looks like a little bit of a Richter scale, doesn't it? The way, because it really is up and down, up and down, up and down. But you can see that live online training, of course, from COVID has just increased really significantly. You can see face-to-face training, of course, has had its dips, particularly around COVID, but has grown again. E-learning is actually, apart from that one point around COVID, is roughly kind of the same. And this should reassure you a little bit. This should reassure you that there is always going to be a place, whether it's face-to-face or live online. It's just about us ensuring that we stand out from the crowd in the way that we deliver training, and that our training absolutely has that impact every single time. Within Taye Training, one of the things that we've noticed is over the last 4 years is, of course, live online. So we were all face-to-face. We're 100% face-to-face. And then COVID hit. And because we were doing frontline training, people needed the safeguarding training, the leadership training, the equity, diversity and inclusion training, the risk management training. They needed it right then because they were key workers. And so we had to immediately look at how to deliver live online. Over the last 4 years, it's shifted, and now we're about 70% from a live online perspective and about 30% face-to-face in the room. So you can see there that although there has been movement back towards face-to-face, live online is still the preferred option. And that is because it does enable kind of remote workers to come in. It does enable, it is cheaper, certainly, for people, you're not having those travel expenses, but there's also some real benefits from an accessibility perspective and an engagement perspective as well. But with this comes kind of the worry around poor online training delivery as well. So what is poor quality training? When I'm talking about instructor-led training, what is poor quality training? This probably will not surprise you at all. We went out to our community of facilitators and said to them, you know, tell us, what is poor quality training? What's happening out there? And we got so much kind of back from them. And it's really interesting, I think, when we look at this and from a customer perspective, somebody purchasing the training, I think really interestingly that still quite often training is not valued and is a tick box exercise. So we're trying to change that perspective. We're trying to show them that actually it really makes a difference. Customers are saying that there's an inconsistent quality or unmotivated staff, subjects too generic. All of that plays into that e-learning landscape. Limited engagement online. So where people have moved from face-to-face to live online, but they haven't learned the live online skills, or they don't understand how to meet learning styles live online. And retention is at an all-time low from particularly, again, that live online training, but also face-to-face in the room. People have 1,000 things going on, and we have to fight for people's attention all of the time so that they retain that information, so they have those light bulb moments. And from a trainer's perspective, do you know, they're telling us that actually learners are not retaining the information, and that is not fulfilling for a trainer. They're saying it's hard to secure customers because there's so much e-learning is being pushed out there, and there's no recognition between quality training and just training, somebody just rocking up and kind of delivering it. They're saying that there's a lack of trainer community. It's really hard to stay up to date with training techniques. And a big one is that people have been expected to just start delivering live online and have not been given any support to be able to learn the skills to be able to do it. So they might have been an exceptional face-to-face trainer, but actually they've not been given the skills and the support and the understanding to be able to translate that as a trainer to live online delivery, to ensure that that is just as engaging and is also meeting those learning styles. So, how are you going to stand out from the crowd? How are you going to make sure that actually your training is quality training? How are you going to ensure that what you do ticks all of those boxes and that people are asking you back time and time again? And what do we do? And why have we grown 10 times over the last 4 years based on our methodology alone? So I'm going to talk to you about some real specifics within our methodology and give you some of our resources, but also some of our key top takeaways. To do that, I want to just introduce you to our methodology. So I told you that we run a training company that delivers hundreds and hundreds of training sessions to frontline organisations, predominantly across the UK. And we deliver those by using a very specific methodology, which is also a train the trainer qualification. And that methodology is the only one that exists that teaches from a very specific place. And that is from a place of expertise and expert facilitation skills, from a place of developing the very best training and then ensuring it's tailored to the customer, from a place of engaging and ensuring the sessions are equitable and meet everybody's learning styles, and importantly, accelerate learning and help people to retain information at every point. And fundamentally, for us, what has really helped us stand out from the crowd, what helped us win those royal accolades, has got me invited onto the TED stage and has enabled us to grow, is about the fact that we are committed 100% to values-led quality training. We want every single training session we deliver to be the best it possibly can be. And the way that we enable that is by having a train the trainer process and methodology that people can engage with, learn from, and then they can develop and deliver using. So we've really drilled down into what is quality training. But to enable us to do that, to make that possible in any way, shape or form, we of course have had to look at our systems. This has been so important. We've had to look at our systems and we've had to reduce our admin as much as we possibly can. And that's where Arlo has come in for us. And that's where Arlo has been exceptional. And Ezra, I know we met, what, 4.5 years ago now, just over just as we were moving into that live online space. And I was really saying, wasn't I, do you know, we are doing everything manually at this point. And since we've made this shift, since your system has taken away hours and hours and hours of our administration, we've seen that growth, or we've had the time to focus on what we do best.
That's right. And I think you said from the results we asked, do you deliver more private than public training, or both? I think primarily you've been delivering private training, haven't you, over the past 3 or so years? And now you're looking to start delivering public training, which is amazing. And that's kind of where we've started touching base again, haven't we, in discussing with your web developer around web integration, so that you can promote your courses, your public courses, effectively to your audience. And so that's number 4 in that piece there. So yeah, all of the components here pretty much make up the entire value proposition of Arlo. And that slogan at the top, less admin, more training, was actually coined by our CEO, Tim. And it pretty much sums up our software in a single sentence. I'll speak to it more later on in the session, but yeah, thank you for taking that, Tammy. And I'm glad it's worked. That's probably my why, I would say, is starting the journey with, and I've worked with hundreds of training providers since being at Arlo, and it's helping them start that journey and seeing them at the very end. And yeah, it's always great to see. I never get tired of it that way.
No, and it's amazing the difference it makes. And I always say, for me, it's you don't know what you don't know. So 8 years ago, it was me and my best friend who just started delivering some training because we were so fed up of the fact that we couldn't find any good quality training anywhere. For 4 years, we just did it alongside our full-time jobs. Now we have 70 trainers, have written a best-selling book, have a train the trainer qualification, have won royal awards, and are championing for national professional standards in the UK for all training delivery. So you don't know what you don't know. And right back then, before we had that conversation with you, Ezra, we literally had a half-time admin person who was not quite handwriting because it was on the computer, but making certificates. And now we have everything is automated, from all of the pre-information to the certificates, to the registrations, to the marketing, to the follow-up, for even the way that we allocate to our facilitators. But I'll come on to that, because we wouldn't have been able to scale in the way that we have and retain our quality if we also didn't kind of need to forget about the admin to an extent, you know. But I'll come back to that. So let me talk to you then about our award-winning methodology, our train the trainer process, our kind of our bread and butter, and what I'm really proud of and what I really love. So like I said, the methodology underpins everything we do at Taye Training, and all of our trainers are qualified in our methodology. They've all been through our Train the Trainer course. But in addition to that, so have hundreds of other people, because it is a qualification now that's out there for others to achieve. And that's because no other Train the Trainer has ever recognised the importance of retaining the quality and the values within the way that you deliver. The Train the Trainer course, the full course, is a 3-month course. So I'm just really whistle stopping some tiny little kind of parts for you around the methodology. But I wanted to start off with Expert, really. And Expert has 2 different elements to it for us. One is about kind of really leaning into your expertise. Do you know that imposter syndrome element? We support people on the Train the Trainer to really lean into their expertise, and we help them expand and grow their expertise and recognize their expertise. Remember, when we're talking about Train the Trainer, it's about investing in the facilitator to be the best they can be. So for us, that expertise, that really kind of living and breathing it and feeling secure in it, is such an important part of our methodology. And For some people, that will be about how the subject that they're delivering. And for some people, that will be about their skills delivering the training. And those two also kind of interlink and are explored in quite a lot of detail. But these are the skills that you'll see here, that the skills that we teach on the Train the Trainer. These are the ones out of hundreds of others that we believe are fundamental to ensure quality facilitation. I don't believe in standing there and talking at people, of course, unless I'm doing a webinar. What I believe is facilitating somebody's learning journey, taking them on that journey and really finding out and recognizing where they're at and interconnecting your objectives and those light bulb moments all the way through. And to do that, like I said earlier, you guys are doing a really hard job. It is not easy delivering quality training. And these are the skills that I believe and we teach facilitators to be able to utilize. So I'm just going to ask Ezra if you'd pop up the poll for me, Ezra, so that we can just have a little bit of a kind of touch and see, which of these are the things that you think are your weakest skills. Okay, your weakest skills. And you can select more than one, but let's just have a look for you guys in the room. And I can tell you whether that's what we see in here as well.
Yeah, that should be launched now. You should see the poll.
Yeah, I can see that we've got participants taking place now. We've got second, so talent for questioning is coming up. Confidence and ease in front of an audience. The ability to recognise and respond to a delegate's needs is quite a popular one. Do you know what's really interesting about these that are coming up? And I will share the results with you once we've given everybody a chance to participate. We're on 10 people have filled it in so far, so we're going to give it another kind of 30 seconds. But what's really interesting for these is that actually, as we've moved from face-to-face in-person training to live online training, some facilitators' natural confidence and ease when presenting in front of an audience is dropping because actually the screen in front of them and the fact that as facilitators, we're not getting anything back from people, are we? As when we're talking and we're doing kind of chunks of information, some facilitators are really struggling with that and they're losing their confidence. And this is facilitators that have been delivering for 10, 20 years as well. Okay, what else is popular on here? Let's give another brilliant. We've still got a couple of people completing it now. The ability to give feedback in a constructive way. That one's a really interesting one. It's one that actually, when we do the Train the Trainer, we really go in and do practice sessions around this because trainers quite often get themselves quite tongue-tied around actually how do you reflect back and how when you're asking a question and somebody's given you a response that is wrong, how do you tell them that it's wrong and give the right response without kind of telling them that it's wrong? And so we're again kind of exploring that from that perspective of how do we reflect back to people? How can we thank people for their contribution and then lead into that next element? So let me just end and share the results for you, just so you can have just a quick look at this. So I think this is great. And I always do this at this point to lean into that imposter syndrome part that I talked about. I think it's always nice when you see that other people struggle with some of the things that you struggle with. Look at this. There's nobody here that their weakest is a genuine interest in people coupled with empathy. That's great because that's a little bit of a sneaky one. And if that was really high, I'd be saying to you, you might not be in the right job. So that's great. The ability to think on the feet, quite a high one. Look at that. Brilliant. So hopefully just having a little bit of an idea of other people and kind of what they're struggling with is helping you today with any possible kind of imposter syndrome that you might have. But also the real good news about this is that all of these, apart from that genuine interest in people, all of these can absolutely be taught. And I know from my perspective, it used to be that in training, people would just talk at you. And that still happens now. And for me, that lends to a boring and uninspiring session. But if you've got a facilitator really confident with these skills, the session is engaging, the session is interactive, and everybody goes on their own learning journey. Which is really quite magical to see when you've got people in the room at different levels and they're all going on their own learning journey because the skills you've got as a facilitator. Moving on then to kind of another part of our methodology, and I'm going to pull us into engaging here. Now, this again, you know, I am doing a real kind of whistle-stop tour here because engaging is such an important one, and so important now that we're doing live online as well. To ensure that you meet people's learning styles, to ensure that you give everybody that equitable opportunity to retain and understand the information you're sharing is your responsibility as a facilitator. And there's a whole host of kind of different things that you can do. One of the things I would say is that make your training as accessible as possible. Recognize and understand that we all have differences. It isn't about catering for people with disabilities. It's about recognizing that everybody opposite that Zoom screen, Team screen, or everybody in that room, even if they're in the exact same uniform, you know, they might be the same age, the same gender, the same color of skin, whatever it is, they are still different and they still have different learning needs, different levels of understanding. And so actually catering to that, catering to differences right from the beginning sets you up to enable an equitable learning journey for everybody in the room. I will say here that this in itself, of course, is an entire module of the Train the Trainer course, but I would like to give you our free accessible training guide. It took us a year to write, loads of research. It's the only one that's out there internationally at the moment that is connected for online delivery and face-to-face, and it covers all of a load of different things, from font size to working with people who are neurodiverse, to making sure there's a safe space, to what to send people in advance, etc. So if you do want that accessible, that guide, just post within the chat box, and one of the Taye facilitators that here will pop that link in there for you. Excuse me. But so from an accessibility perspective and learning styles and meeting those learning styles, it's a facilitator's responsibility to be able to do that. A real top tip for you is use accelerated learning wherever you possibly can, because that helps people to retain information. So everybody has 5 senses, and within those senses, if you can let them fiddle, draw, kind of doodle, chew, anything like that, you are enabling them to engage an additional sense. That will help them stay alert and awake, and that will help them to retain information. If they're also neurodiverse, it will also be helping them to stay engaged with you as well. So there's a few things there, but that guide will give you hundreds of tips if you'd like that. The next thing I'll say is about kind of developing training and the importance of developing it using a process and a framework. This is kind of the obviously the real basic version of our framework, but it's one that enables us to ensure, with the detail of this, that every single training session that we develop and that we deliver is the very best it possibly can be and has considered all of the different elements. So having a framework and following the framework right up to the individuals in the room on that day is really important, is really key, and will make a real difference to the content that you've got and the way that you're presenting it. The way that we do this at Taye Training is actually we have a skeleton course of every course, kind of a non-tailored course, so to speak. And then when we are delivering to organisations, we have a tailoring process that then takes that skeleton course and overlays onto it relatable elements like relatable examples and case studies, their policies and the procedures, their vision, mission and objectives, etc., if we're doing it to an organisation. And if we're doing it to individuals, if it's one of our open courses, then what we'll do there is we'll ensure that it's relevant for the landscape. And then in our pre-course information, we will ensure that we're gathering information that enables us to tailor it to the people that are arriving, that are coming along. And we'll do what we've done today, a few little polls at the beginning that make us kind of, oh, okay, so we know that they know all about that, but they don't know much about that, but they want to go deep on that, but we can just touch on that. So it's really kind of interactive. There's loads of kind of little things that we can add in to ensure that things are tailored to the people in the room. And again, this, if you want the detail of this and how to kind of develop and tailor and the framework, it's in my book, and we'll be giving you a link for a free copy of the e-version of my book if you'd like that. So just pop in the chat if you would like the e-version of the book as well. And then finally, for us, do you know, fundamentally is the golden thread. Do you know, and I put this at the end because it goes all the way through. And if you go back to that that beads that I showed you right at the beginning, that methodology infogram, it is actually a bracelet. It's a tangle toy and it's got beads on, and we give out those all the time. And that's because we are trying to live our values. From an accelerated learning point, you can play with that. From an equitable position, it's helping meet differences. But values go so much more deeper than that. Right at the beginning, I started by asking you what your why was. And that's because as soon as we connect with somebody's why and their values, it starts some emotional learning as well. It's not just all coming from here, it's coming from here too. And as soon as we get somebody to think about that why, whatever it's connected to, it wakes up our emotional learning. You'll have seen in the tailored part of the methodology, in there, I've talked about kind of mission, vision, and such like of the organisation, or of the landscape, or of the system, whatever it is, you know, interconnect. Why is this even happening? And when you're delivering training, and throughout our Train the Trainer course, we talk continuously around how do you create a safe space? How do you meet people's learning? How do you ensure things are accessible? How do you receive support? How do you look after yourself? How do you keep people motivated and establish connection? The way you do that is about lacing values all the way through, valuing yourself as a facilitator and being the best facilitator you can be, but also recognizing that if you've got people in front of you for a 3-hour training course, they're never going to get that time back ever in their life. So actually, let's give them as much value as you can that meets their needs within the time that you've got. So important. And for us, values just interconnects all the way through. And going back to that kind of standing out from the crowd, yes, other methodologies and other trainers talk about the importance of being an expert in facilitation, developing a good course, meeting learning styles, but fundamentally connected through all of that is the golden thread of doing it from that values-led perspective. And that is where we stand out, and we're kind of inviting you to stand out from the crowd as well, to really value everything we do and the impact that it can have. So within this, as I've kind of said, we've really gone deep on our methodology. It's an entire 3-month course. We go into organisations and deliver the Train the Trainer. We have an online version of the course. But to be able to do that, to be able to stand up as thought leaders, to be able to talk about it in Parliament and on the TEDx stage, we've had to have exceptional feedback. We've had to have every training session that we deliver has had to be quality, values-led training right across our organisation. And we've been able to focus on doing that because what we use Arlo for is to automate all of our manual and repetitive tasks. So it literally does all of that. As soon as we've signed somebody up, they now actually can go onto our website, click a button, sign up kind of immediately that way. But also we have organisations that will send us a list of 30 people and they're just uploaded to Arlo. All of our pre-course kind of asking them about their additional needs, telling them about kind of our rules with camera off, camera on, giving them their tips on how to engage and accessibility. All of that for us is completely automated, right through to collecting the feedback at the end, sending out their certificates, and then marketing them to ask them to come back to us to come to another course. All of it is automated for us now. We also, our customer experience is really important to us. We want it to be really simple, and Arlo has enabled us to allow it to be simple because actually all of their training communication, all of their presentations that we send them afterwards to refer to, or everywhere that they kind of connect and go back to ensure that they have an understanding is all in the exact same place. And that's whether we are doing blended learning with them or whether we're doing instructor-led learning, we can have it all in that same place for them. But for us, the scalability has been really beneficial because once we do it once within Arlo, once we set up the survey and the feedback once, we can just repeat. And that's something that I can honestly say 4.5 years ago, when I was working full-time as a CEO as a charity and we'll be doing a bit of training on the side, we didn't even know was possible. We really didn't know it was possible. And actually, Ezra, I remember you telling me that that was possible. And so over the last kind of 4 years, we've used Arlo differently. And now all of our facilitator work is sent out via Arlo. And Ezra, as you kind of mentioned, we're now integrating into our new fancy rebranded website, which is launching very soon, so that we can, along with our courses that we sell direct to organisations, we'll be having all of the public facing ones as well, won't we?
Exactly. I was just going to add, this is all with you just running private training at the moment. So I can imagine the value you'll see as soon as you start launching public training. Because I know we have a lot of existing customers on this call as well, so this might be a bit repeat to them. But just for those, I guess, who aren't customers or who are just visiting on this webinar, really, if you break down Arlo's core value proposition and the key features of the platform, which Tammy's touched on, it's really course management, helping remove the administration from creating and scheduling courses, and there's a range of ways we do that by the template system all the way through to our importers, registrations and payments. So Tammy, you haven't seen the value of that yet, but as soon as your training is public, we have a built-in checkout that can capture the payment straight away from delegates, which again saves you even more time. And then we also have a built-in reporting functionality, tons of reports in there. Also CRM, so a customer relationship management tool. You mentioned that the customer experience is important to you, so too is keeping track of the customer journey. So people have registered on previous courses with yourself, and that's all stored in Arlo as well. And so lastly, the website integration, which we're working currently on with you. You're able to create beautiful website experiences which pull in dynamically the training that you create in Arlo onto your website. And I did see early on that a few of those challenges that were mentioned in that poll at the start, some were sales, selling training, enrollment changes, scheduling conflicts. I recognize some of those emails on the poll, but there are some that I don't recognize. So what I'll do at the end of the session is I'll drop a QR code that will link to my Calendly booking tool. And so feel free to book a time if you're curious to know more about some of the features that Tammy has been able to leverage to be able to scale her business to where it is today. And yeah, no, Tammy, I'm super excited to help you see the value of public training and getting your training on the website and being able to market it and sell more training there as well.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited about that as well. I'm really excited actually when we do another webinar, because I know that depending on what you guys ask for will depend on what kind of the other webinars look like. But one of the things that I'm excited to show is kind of a bit of a before and after, because the public courses that are being pulled through onto the webinar, onto the website, look exceptional. They look absolutely exceptional. So I'm really yeah, I'm quite excited even to show you, Ezra, the before and after.
Yeah, I was going to say some of the challenges mentioned are prompting ideas for another webinar. So it's good to see definitely some areas around selling training, staying on top of technology, integrations and so forth. So definitely some ideas there as well.
Yeah, fantastic. And do you know, pop into the chat anything, if there is something that you're thinking, actually, I really, really want this, pop it into the chat for Arlo to consider. But let's be realistic, and we're coming towards the end so we can answer some of your questions. The challenge is ongoing. Things are moving fast, and absolutely rightly so. We want them to move fast, but we need to kind of stay the top of our game as we're going through this. And my real recommendations kind of alongside recognizing how fast things are moving is about actually joining a community, being the best that you can possibly be. I'll just leave this up for a sec for people to read. This obviously is an example of our community, and I know that Becky and Helen have kind of posted the link, but there are other communities out there. You may already have your own community that you're part of. You may have a group of people, a group of other trainers. One way or another, my point is surround yourself by other people who recognize and believe in the difference that quality training can make, because it can become really difficult when you're when you're in a landscape where there's so much talk around e-learning, AI, is face-to-face training going to fade out? When there's all of that type of stuff, when you're just surrounded by that, it can be hard not to hear it. And what I would say is surround yourself by some excellent people to help you in that way. Because the solutions are to be a leading facilitator. They are to reduce your admin, to create that lasting change, because people will keep coming back to you. And it really gives, I can honestly say, like somebody said, how do you about selling more courses? We don't talk about how good our individual courses are anymore. We talk about the methodology that we use to deliver the courses. And that's what keeps people coming back time and time and time again. I'm not willing to go up against somebody on one course versus one course because it's a difficult battle. How do you prove your worth just based on your objectives? You don't. You prove your worth on the way that you deliver that training and the impact that you have. And then people will keep coming back to you because of that. So then I think we've got 5 minutes left by my count for some kind of final questions and answers. We have put up here some QR codes. We've put a Train the Trainer course special offer for you guys on there that's also in the chat. So if you do want to know more about Taye and our Train the Trainer course, we've put an offer in there for you. We've also put all of the free books and resources that I've talked about, mainly because in 45 minutes there's no way I can give kind of quality values-led training justice. So I'm aware I'm talking 100 miles an hour, but also if you don't use Arlo, book a demo and just tell them what you need, and they'll tell you whether they can do it or not. And if they can't, then that you've not lost anything. And if they can, fantastic, you've got more time to focus on your training. And the bottom right-hand corner, I will always recommend, because every time I go to Ezra and go, Ezra, this is what my problem is. This is what I want to do. This is how we've grown. We've won another tender. We've got 100 more customers. We want to do public courses. Ezra will go, let me show you how Arlo can do that. And I am not techie at all. I love training. I don't love the tech. So yeah, so there's your QR codes if you would like to scan any of those. So I'm going to pause now, because I know that I have been talking 1,000 miles an hour. I also know that Becky, Helen and Ezra have done a great job of answering some of the questions. And let's see.
Well, there haven't been too many, so if anyone has any questions, feel free to fire away, either for Tammy or myself. Yeah, we're here. If there are no questions and they come up afterwards, you could send them over to us using those links or book a time, particularly for existing customers. I think if you just want to have a chat with myself, maybe you're struggling with some of those challenges you mentioned earlier, yeah, book a time. It's probably the easiest way. But yeah, so far no questions. Look, Tammy, really appreciate your time as well. We'll give it maybe 1 or 2 more minutes for the questions, but yeah, always great to hear about your training for influence methodology. It goes over my head, but as a trainer, I train customers on the software. It's always great to get insight from yourself. You're so knowledgeable, and yeah, just seeing your journey is awesome as well.
There's just so much more that I want to say, though, Ezra. I want to go on the expert and the facilitation skills. I want to like pull into them and start talking about them. And you know, I know I go on about it all of the time, but like everybody said at the beginning, why do they do this? I'm really sorry, Ezra, but none of them said we do this because we love tech and we want to do loads of admin and we want, you know, none of them said that. You know, and I remember even right at the beginning of using Arlo, because we were, as I said, working as a CEO in a full-time position, and with my best friend who also had a full-time position, we weren't collecting any customer details or anything like that. We were just doing the training that somebody had asked us to do. So Arlo right at the beginning for Taye helped us professionalize. I think that's what's really important. It really helped us professionalize. And then once we started kind of going, oh, okay, we don't have to do that bit. That bit can be done for us. It enabled us then to really focus on what is magic to us. And that is about that values led and that quality element of it. And that is then what's enabled us to become thought leaders within this environment, because there are thousands and thousands of trainers and training organizations out there delivering okay training. Actually, there's not that many that are shouting about the fact that they're delivering quality training, and there's no others that are shouting about the fact that every one of their training sessions comes from that values-led quality perspective. So I know I say it to you all of the time, but I can't really underestimate the difference it has made not having to focus on the admin.
And I think that is going to be the differentiator, isn't it? I think in this new age that we're in with AI and technology transforming so fast, I think the companies that put people first, that put, you know, those values that they spoke about today, they're wise. I think everyone that mentioned or dropped a comment there, they're in it for the right reasons, which is so great to see. You know, a lot of this I learned today as well. It's really insightful to actually get this information from not just customers, but those who aren't. But yeah, no, it's been definitely an insightful session for myself. We'll also be launching a survey as well to see if you enjoyed the session. We'll be looking to run more of them. I know I had a couple of emails about the fact that this was run in the UK time, so not convenient for those in APAC regions. So we'll look to run a few more in different regions, spread it out a bit. But also, yeah, if you have any topic ideas that you want to suggest, definitely send those through to us. We're always open.
Great. Well, thanks so much for your time, everybody, today. Really, really
Don't see any questions. So I think, yeah, we'll leave it there. But do feel free to utilize those QR codes. The recording will go out as well. Thank you so much, Tammy, for your time. Thank you, everyone who participated. and add comments
Thanks,
and
Ezra.
questions. I really appreciate it. Right. Have a great rest of the day, everyone. See you.